having with his powers.
Yeah.
Like after he hears that Mary Jane.
You froze, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking like it took me like 30 seconds to realize that everything was frozen. I was like, oh crap. Okay.
All right, welcome all to the Speakeasy podcast. I am Daryl,
And I'm Phil.
and we got a special guest today. You can introduce yourself.
I am Mikhail. I just finished my third year in film studies. I loved it so far. I got another year waiting for me. But aside from that, I'm mostly an artist. I draw. Most of my inspiration comes from movies. Movies have been my driving source of inspiration since I was a little boy, and nothing has changed in that regard.
Well, what did you? My question first, I want to ask you is, why didn't you want to go to like film animation? You were more like, since you're drawing anyways, you could like, easily enter film animation. So it's more. Why did you choose film as an outlet?
Well, I draw, and most of my, like I said, like film has always inspired me, but I was always fascinated by like live action specifically.
Mm.
Before coming to university, I did do a 3D animation program. I did 4 years of it. That was great, but that was a pathway for me to first of all get into in university, but also to have kind of a get closer to everything surrounding special effects and 3D animation and get a better understanding of that part of the process. Because my end goal, my dream goal would to be to become a director,
Mm.
and I feel like the best directors who have like a great visual sense, they always have most of these guys they have a background as like visual effects supervisors, or they know some of that stuff. Or by example, Brad Bird, he's mostly known for his animated movies, but then he went out to make his first live action movie, the fourth Mission Impossible movie, and that turned out great visually
Yeah.
because he already had like this strong visual sense. So I guess that 3D animation and drawing could give me that in the long run. So, but in the end, like live action is definitely
Mhm.
where I want to go.
You really love, yeah.
So, what would you say for you personally is, and I'll extend that question to Daryl.
Mm.
Uh, what would you say is the unique artistic element to the art form of film?
Well, definitely the fact that I mean, first of all, obviously it's visual. It is I think, the closest medium of art that accurately represents reality visually.
Mm.
I guess, like it's easy for any audience member to just lose himself in a narrative. You could just
Mm.
you don't it, you know a painting. It's still, even though it's like it might be photorealistic, the fact that it's like constantly still, you can't it might be a little harder to just forget that it's only a reflection of reality. But when it's a movie, you see people, there's a narrative,
Mm.
and the more authentic it is, the more the more the stronger the escapism is going to be. You forget
True.
about your own reality and you just lose yourself in the narrative that the film is portraying.
Yeah.
I think that's one aspect that is really unique to film. Um,
I think
really,
one I think the biggest aspect also is the fact that it encompasses many different mediums. Also uses music as well, and also uses drama, theatrical acting, and so it ultimately like stretches many to many other art forms, and so it sort of, you could do dance and also know how to like fight choreographically. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like a dance. There's a 8 count to it. There's a movement. There's a repetition, and so I feel like it's very much like it's like a global sense of art in a sense. So
You
that's how
contain all the others.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah,
I think there's a term. I think it's very interdisciplinary.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Um, it's everything art. It's very, especially those movies that are about like a certain medium of art, that's where it's going to go really
Yeah.
extreme into that, and you see different mediums like really combining and doing something
There's many
almost
different
pretty
genres.
meta.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's very many different genres as well that allows you many different varieties. Whereas, like, you know, like in terms of painting or like drawing, I mean, there's a certain like aesthetic to it, but there's not really like, you know, like a specific genre. Like, there's no like,
Well, we categorize paintings
yeah,
mostly by eras and mostly by movements that cover all of those
yeah.
paintings.
And
Right.
it's the same thing with music, where it's kind of like the same, kind of a different instruments, but like the arrangement is kind of the same. It's chorus, verse, and then some alternate variation of it. But like in sense of movies, like when you make a comedy versus when you make a drama or when you make a horror, there's a very much different emotion that comes out. You know what I mean? And there's a different like visual aesthetic that sort of represents that type of genre.
That's true. Although what happens is that, the stuff that I sorry, I'm just gonna take my little dish off because it's a little warmer in the office than I was expecting, but I'm not making complain.
Can you tell your camera a little lower?
This is actually the desktop, so that's the one thing that I didn't plan. I wish I was a little higher. So
It's fine. It's fine.
all right. But yeah, but the cool thing that often happens is like sometimes you have like those movies that decide to kind of combine genres and that create something unique in the end.
Yeah.
And whenever that happens, that's when you get a classic. Like you have different movies that combine genres, and that ends up creating a different aesthetic. It combines different feelings that are really specific to that new narrative that this movie decided to explore.
Yeah.
So whenever that happens, it's great and it's unique and that sticks with you, and it makes you keep thinking about that movie like long after you've watched it.
I think that's how I felt watching Blade Runner, for example. The meshing of genres that you're. Yeah, the original one, and it gives a feeling that you're part of. It makes you believe in its universe, even though its universe is basically film noir with some futuristic elements.
Yeah.
But you really believe in this new thing, which would end up becoming cyberpunk and all of that other stuff down the
Right.
line.
Yeah. Actually, in one of the wait, sorry, it's lagging a little bit. Yeah, in one of the later classes, like that's actually the movie that I based an essay on. I wanted to talk about
in film studies,
genre hybrids.
Yeah.
Genre hybrids. So basically, I picked Blade Runner because it was the perfect mixture of film noir and science fiction, and like you said, it created cyberpunk. And interestingly enough, as I was researching about it, this movie inspired the Wachowski sisters to make The Matrix. That's the movie that kind of, as I think Lana or Lily said, it kind of started her obsession on aesthetics.
Yeah.
Like it's having a very specific vision for the way that you want to showcase your world. And the funny part is that their movies, the Matrix film, that those are the movies that really made me realize that they are made by people who have like their own different ways of shooting things.
Yeah.
Like the thing that really surprised me the first time that I saw the Matrix was like the style of it. Like not just from what was shown on screen, but the way that it was shot, the way that things were placed on the, like it was kind of shocking. And and back then I wasn't able to like actually explain it because I did not know about all those
the terms
notions.
and all. Yeah.
Right. But now it's cool to go back to these movies and see, oh, this is why, like, when this scene happened, I that's why I was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
This is why, that all the the visual similarities that it had with anime. Like back then when I first discovered the Matrix, I was going through my intense anime phase, and when I said when I saw the movie, I couldn't actually connect the dots, but it had the things that would just catch my attention.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, no, I those really started my this is where I get my sensibilities when it comes to movie aesthetics, definitely.
I think what you touched on as well is the reason why I find that what we're all studying in film studies is so, that's the good side of studying it, is you can verbalize, you can understand the processes which enrich your understanding of what you love. You know,
Yeah.
it kind of gives you the tools to be able to apply that almost in a, we'll say, mathematical way, at least understanding concept in relation to other concept like lighting.
Analyze it as well, and
yeah, so you can like tell it apart from film to film, right? So it's like it's a toolkit that you get to use when you view film.
Yeah, it can be, but it allows you to be much more specific when it comes to describing those things. And like you said, especially when it comes to the things that you like, the best part is when you, so when it's more specific, but you're also able to recreate it when you get the chance.
Yeah.
Like it's good to be able to talk about what you like and look for more of that and be able to create more of this. And you know, it helps your critical your critical sense. And I think that's like super important because at first, you know, something's going to resonate with you more than others. But I mean, prior to all that, like I wasn't able to like actually word it out. I couldn't really exactly say what it was that made me that made me resonate with the film.
Or understand why.
Yeah. It's really weird, like especially with movies that you know, like a movie that you haven't seen for like 5 years for some reason, but it's still a movie that you love.
Yeah.
But then 5 years later, you decide to rewatch it, and not only you see why you liked it so much back then, but you like it even more, almost to a point where it kind of feels like a different movie for how great it feels.
Yeah.
But it's still the same thing that you've seen that you've seen from your childhood, and it feels amazing. Like I've had this with actually, funny enough, with the third Harry Potter movie, Prisoners of Azkaban, which it to me is like, yes, I mean Alfonso Cuarón. It's
I mean, the best one, no contest.
Like the more I thought about it, the more I thought it's bizarre that this movie even exists. Like a Harry Potter movie, like a wizard school. It's really like PG, kid-oriented, a little fantasy movie, but directed by this high-class, I don't know if it was like independent, but like really like a mature artsy director. And it's like this, it's weird that it happened and that it delivered on what it actually was. And it's weird. And the movie, from the transition from the second one and third one, it's not just that it was darker, but you see that it was definitely much more grounded in the way that it would show.
It's a lot more mature. It's a lot more mature. Also, especially the content as well is a lot more mature. Whereas, like, you know, if you watch the first two Harry Potter movies, it's very much like, oh look, Harry, you're a wizard, and then after it's like there's literally death.
Well, I mean, there's death in the second one too. It's how it's shown, because honestly, with everything Voldemort, it's kind of, you know, dark magic and everything. So all those little things are going to be hinted at. But with the third one, it's not just that there's death. It's also, there's something a little eerie about how, in terms of the presentation, the way that it's like, you know, the whole thing of saying it's more mature, it's more reserved, it's more.
Right. There's an ambiance of something that isn't right, but it's not spelled out to you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's. I'm trying to It's
whenever
weird.
I think about that film, I think about that sequence where they're walking by the hills and there's that crooked tree.
Yeah.
And then they talk about the story of like that tree that like takes people and stuff, and it's very creepy. And I thought to myself back then, why is this in the movie? But it really shows a darker side to this world, but also like everything has a place in this world.
Yeah.
and it's not always clear-cut good or bad, as represented by that tree that is an element of nature, right?
Wait, are you talking about the tree that ends up like kind of
That saves Lucius. Lucius was his name. What's his name?
Lupin?
Gary Oldman's character.
Oh, damn.
What's his
Gosh, I
name?
think I need a rewatch.
Is it Lucius Black or
Sirius Black?
Sirius Black. Sorry, there's a wrong.
Very serious Black.
Very serious Black. Yeah.
No, but yeah, no. This movie, it's like it's weird. It feels like it for me, it's really the fact that you have like this kid-oriented fantasy film where even apparently the director didn't even read the book at first, but the thing is, he still decided to take it seriously and make like just a good film.
Good film, yeah.
That's great.
Despite the source material, not despite, but just regardless of the source material, just make a good film out of what you have in front of you.
I have a question about that. What do you guys think about the adaptations now? Since we're in a kind of like a culture where everything's being revamped and sort of live action wise, anime and previous films from back in the day. What do you guys think about new film adaptations of previous material?
It all depends for me. Who's doing it?
Yeah.
What's the flair? What are they bringing to it? Are they bringing love? Are they bringing interest, or are they bringing like something fresh, a fresh idea to the material? Do they want to engage with this material in the first place? Because in the case of Alfonso Cuarón, he may not have read Harry Potter, but he definitely was interested in bringing his own brand to Harry Potter. He was gonna interact with the material itself in a way,
while still remaining respectful to the source material, which like again, like this never happens. Like bringing your touch and being respectful to what you're given. This is,
and in the early 2000s as well.
I mean,
2004. To me, honestly, it's weird. 2004. Now that I realize this, like it gave me a lot of my favorite movies that I still like. I mean, Harry Potter 3, Spider-Man 2, which I'm sure we're gonna talk about a lot in this particular meeting because
we will.
This movie has a lot of the things that I still like today. The things that make me, the thing that I still gush about when it comes to movies. So that and The Incredibles, the first one. 2004 was a wild year. It's ridiculous how, like I'm glad that I like The Incredibles is the only one that I managed to watch in theaters. I think the first time I watched it with my mom and my little brother, that was a great movie experience. That was awesome. And I watched it a second time, I think, also. I never did that, but that movie I watched it twice in theaters. So that was great. And the funniest part about it is that, so obviously this movie had everything for me. Like it had superheroes, good animation, great colors, just engaging story and all that stuff. And I was obsessed with it. And when I obsessed on something, I had to talk about it to everyone, literally everyone.
That's a lot of people growing up. Don't worry about it.
Including my school teachers. So in like second grade, I had like this like I think she was like one of the best teachers I had in elementary school. So I go to her, I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw this movie, The Incredibles. It was so cool. It was so fun.
It was incredible.
Did I actually say that? Pun not intended. And so, you'd expect a teacher to say like, oh, that's cool, all right, and kind of shrug it off and whatever. Like literally the next weekend, she comes back to me and tells me that she saw it and that she actually loved it. And I was kind of like surprised about that. I thought that was really cool, and I remember she genuinely enjoyed the movie, and I thought, wow, that's awesome.
It was well made. It was really incredibly good movie. To be fair.
Well,
watch it now. It's still
Oh yeah, it hasn't aged really.
Well, that's the thing. It's the type of movie that the more you rewatch it, the better it gets. Like as an adult, I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't really. Obviously, I didn't.
Dude was running on water. Dude, he's like, yes, I can do that.
That was it. That's all I needed. But like, obviously, I didn't. I didn't pay attention to the whole the whole narrative of midlife crisis, or
Right.
the idea of like letting your past go, and the glory days and all that stuff.
And
But now it's like, oh, this is a real story about like adulthood, and like
Yeah.
it's mature without being like mature in a way that the kids can still watch it, but like as you grow up it just gets better. There are things that you pick up, and it holds up. Like my favorite, the best thing about it is that when there's this scene where Ellen and Bob, they're fighting in the living room because Bob came back from like saving people from a building, and that and all that stuff. And when I was a kid, I was like, what are they fighting about? I don't get it, but it looks intense and it looks serious, but whatever. But but listening to to their exchange, I'm like, oh, okay, this feels real. Like what they're saying, it doesn't sound like two adults talking in an animated movie for kids. It sounds like two adults talking.
Yeah.
Point. Period.
The representation of family as well, of just the pressures of having a family, the pressures of being part of your family, whether you want to or not, is also a very interesting piece of adult drama, almost, I would say.
Also, I think the idea of idolizing someone, sort of having a role model, is very
Oh
much
yeah.
You mean about Syndrome?
Yeah, Syndrome being sort of like, oh my god,
a great villain.
Dude's ideal. Oh my god, he's a
Oh,
Superman.
Robin, I love it.
Oh no, I love he's basically like a demented Robin, and it all went bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of shady when you think about it. It is pretty dark. Like it's funny, like back then I never really saw it like that. Like I just saw him as like this weird creepy like kid who's just he needs to take his seat, and that's it. But like thinking about like this demented, weird, twisted version of Robin where like Batman kind of like just rejected him, and he didn't
doesn't
really
want
take it well.
with him.
Yeah.
That's excellent. It's great. Like the thing I like about the first Incredibles is that it's not a story with superheroes. It's a story about superheroes. It's about
it's more about a normal family.
genre.
It's more about a normal family that happens to have superpowers that sort of have to deal with like real life struggles of how to live your life, plus dealing with the supernatural and all that stuff.
I think what's cool about it is it shows how much Brad Bird and the people who made it understand what makes superheroes interesting, which is the superhero as a myth is kind of the borderline between the god and the human. He is a half of both, and he's torn in the middle, right? And I feel like tugging on both aspects and showing that they're part of the same strand is what makes those stories so compelling. And that's why I think Bird clearly understands how to write a superhero being fully human. And that's what makes them so compelling, right? It's not just a power fantasy. It's not just the power. It's also the responsibility.
Yeah, you have to ground it. This is how you got to make them relatable, or we're just not going to connect as audience members.
Speaking of your responsibilities, talk on the Spider-Man topic, since you guys are so eager to talk about it.
Yes.
For one, what do you guys think about the potential Spider-Man? Well, the actual Spider-Man 3 that's coming in, the No Way Home, that's coming soon. What are your expectations? Are you guys nervous?
Expectations?
Supposedly Maguire is coming back along with Garfield and all.
Supposedly.
And Molina being de-aged.
Ooh, I hope they don't get de-aged. I want, if they do bring them back, which is already like they really have to do them justice, is the thing. It's gonna be hard to recapture what those characters were like in those movies without having the input of the directors or writers of those movies.
I think Raimi's also attached to it. No,
is he?
I think so.
No idea. I have no
idea. So. I really hope so.
I don't know. I don't think he will.
Maybe like as a producer, I think. I don't know.
Right.
There are chances.
Consultant, maybe. But it could be interesting for the interactions, and maybe actually giving Andrew Garfield's character a good send off. You know,
conclusion.
maybe actually giving him some love because he's underappreciated.
He's the least bad part. He's far from he's not the problem of his two films. Like he's not the reason why they're bad. Like he gave it his all.
He's well cast, I think.
I think he's a good Spider-Man, but as a Peter Parker, it's kind of off.
I think he's directed badly as Peter Parker. I think with a good director, he could be one of the best ones. The actor I'm talking about.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield. He was fine. It's just that as Spider-Man, he was great. He had the character. He really had the quips. I mean, honestly, it was kind of a response to the Raimi ones where he had less of that. But my only problem with him is that as Peter Parker, he looked way too good looking. Like he did not look like a guy who's having a bad life. Like things are fine. He's got like that hairdo. I mean, honestly,
you got the skateboard. You got the skateboard
and everything. Like he's fine. This guy does not get bullied. You will not make me believe it.
He kicks the bully's ass.
Yeah, he bullies the bully on the story.
Right. He does well. Like arguably, like after he gets his powers. So that's the thing. But before that, it's like it's hard to believe. Like don't. You're gonna have to do more than just give him the glasses to make us think that he's a nerd and all that stuff. No.
Right.
But the thing about the third Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, I have no idea what to expect with that one. It's just I really have no idea what they're gonna do with this. My biggest worry is that it's gonna be a 2-hour-long meme because it would be so funny if this Spider-Man met this Spider-Man and they did the pointy thing, but for 2 hours and they sort of like put in a narrative in it. But my real genuine problem is that especially Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, he's my favorite version of Spider-Man. And while it's not super comic accurate, his Spider-Man it's not just a Spider-Man story, it's a story about like superheroes in general, like the whole thing of like secret identity and why they do it. It really established like the conventions of like early 2000s superheroes and why does he do this and protecting the people that I love, and it's really general but also super lofty, and it does things in a way where it only works in the Raimi world. So it's like even Mary Jane, like people say Mary Jane, she's like a damsel in distress. All she does is scream and get saved and whatever. It's true, but story wise, it like if you rewatch those movies, she really has she doesn't have a lot of agency. She's not the feisty girl that kind of fights back and helps the hero fight the villains somehow behind the action.
Yeah. But the sidekick.
But she's like she really drives the plot in terms of like I don't want to make it sound as if like she's Peter Parker's like trophy girl like as a goal. No, he's like a big part of Peter Parker's struggle. She represents the things that he wants in life, a normal life. I want to be able to, the whole thing of I just want a relationship. And I love the fact that she actually confesses her love for him. Like for the nerd, she genuinely loves him. And he literally says, "No, I can't."
Right.
Because
I love that movie, the first one, ends on a sour note.
I rewatched it like a month ago, and I never actually realized that because obviously back then when I really watched it, I was like I just wanted Spider-Man, I just wanted the action scenes and whatever. I didn't care about the whole melodrama part, which made these movies good. Like, and even especially the second one, you gotta realize how there's like a big portion of the movie where there's like no action, like none.
Yeah.
Like
and
it's
more character
amazing.
development. There's more character development.
Right. It's important. It's like it's like it's the thing that makes you care. Like if you care about the characters, if it's well written, the thing I love about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, it's like his life is so shitty. Everything goes wrong. It's like it's almost comical how everything goes wrong, and
makes so many mistakes too, and I really like that.
Right.
I like him messing up and being like, "Oh man, everything."
Well, sometimes it's not even his fault. Like it's in the beginning of the film, it's his birthday, and he gets like a $20 bill from his aunt, and he's feeling reluctant because she already has money problems. Literally, the next minute he goes to his apartment and there's like the apartment owner is like, "Oh, what's that? A $20 bill?" Let me snatch it.
Yeah, it's rent.
It's like, and then it cuts to like him going to just sitting on his bed looking mega depressed, and it's like, wow, life sucks. Like being Spider-Man is not fun. Yeah. So basically, I remember like for the Amazing Spider-Man, the second Andrew Garfield one, where in the beginning of the trailer, there's a line that goes like, I forgot how it goes exactly, but it's something like, being Spider-Man is like everything. It's so fun. No, buddy, it's not. You're straight up not having a good time. So, and the Raimi trilogy really nailed that. And like another issue that's often brought up is the fact that he has like his weird organic web slingers where he didn't build them.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was like
that decision. I actually like that decision because it streamlines his origins.
Right.
We don't have to get to how did he make that, you know? We don't have to explain where did he get those things, you know, because in a movie, you're going to have to explain that. You can't just skip over it in one comic panel.
Well, you can you can do montage. You can do like be visual, like sit in the make links to Oscorp and all the writing, the pacing, all that stuff. But for me, the thing that really makes me go, oh, maybe that was genius is that in the second one, the organic web sling is like a metaphor for his motivation to do what he wants. Like when he starts losing his powers, it's perfectly mirrored with him not wanting to do this anymore. Like the shittier his life gets, the more the more issues he's having with his powers. Like after he hears that Mary Jane,
he jumps off the roof and he yells, "I'm back! I'm back!" Probably one of the best scenes. Oh, Mike froze. Damn.
So funny.
But I agree with what you're just saying in terms of how that's what makes the Raimi trilogy a classic Spider-Man sort of trilogy, because it makes it more sort of grounded and less of a fantasy and superhero movie. You froze, Mike.
Yeah.
I was talking like it took me like 30 seconds to realize that everything was frozen. I was like, oh crap. Okay, I'm back.
Yeah. Speaking of back, we were talking about that joke where he said, "I'm back."
Oh no.
And then his back. It's so great.
It's perfect.
A sense of humor that is very different from everyone else's.
I love
and
him.
That's I'm actually worried about if that character comes back in the next Tom Holland movie. He can't just say pizza time, you know? Comedy is different from that universe. That universe
Disney is different.
Like a pulpy comic book from the 60s where people say very strange, outrageous things out of nowhere. Yeah. You know, where like there's one extra at some point in the film, in the first one, that says, "Look, it's Spider-Man." You will never see a shot like that again.
It's mega corny, but guess what? At least it's consistent.
Yeah.
The fact that it's consistent makes it okay. Like, or in the beginning of Spider-Man 2, like when Toby, he's running late to give his pizza, and you see Spider-Man like carrying the pizza, and there's dude literally going, "Whoa, he stole this guy's pizza!" It's so corny. It is the corniest thing, but it's part of the charm. Like you have to get used to that, you know.
The thing is, because I think also Raimi comes from a like more horror based background, and horror and comedy have the same timing, and so that's how he's able to sort of implement these subliminal sort of comedic skits within his or even just horrific skits, like for example in the original Spider-Man, when he goes back inside the burning building and he turns around and
The
it's
Goblin.
Goblin. It's kind of
yeah.
it's very very sort of Evil Dead type deal where it's sort of like poppy jump scare that's just hilarious.
That's another thing. Basically, that Spider-Man trilogy is just a big budget art house Raimi trilogy. It's
I
just
love it.
him being paid massive bucks to do Evil Dead again with a character that he really cares about.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore.
Raimi knows the comics. He understands them extremely well. I've heard him talk about them, and there's something people don't give enough credit to those Raimi movies for is they're actually very accurate in a lot of ways. The story, the way things develop, who is involved, who is like the key players in Peter's life.
Well,
that
you
is
see,
really accurate.
that's the thing about adapting a story. So on a surface level, things might have changed, right? Like little things where, because that you need to do that. You need to kind of change it the way that things are placed, the reasoning. Like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if that's like one of the like a plot point in the comics, but the whole thing of Spider-Man killing the Green Goblin and Harry Osborn thinking that Spider-Man did it, and that's like part of the drama. I feel like that was done for the movie.
A plot point, but it's played up in the movie. But it is a plot point that happens where he kind of gets Norman Osborn killed.
Okay.
The glider thing is a 1-for-1. The glider coming back because he does a flip.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I want to find that panel.
Raimi really knows his shit. Like, he made it so the end of that thing, because it happens in a different place. It happens on a bridge instead of, in that little broken down house, right?
Right.
So he makes it so that at the end of that shot, it becomes the same frame as the comic panel.
I think there's like little hints of the panel towards like the recaps. The second movie, there's like the recaps in the beginning.
Oh yeah, the title sequence. Yeah, no, that's genius.
And there are
and that's another
of
thing. See, that's another thing that I miss. Like with Marvel, the current Marvel, with they can't be stylized because now Marvel, Disney, it's like this
it's a massive
big
universe
brand.
Yeah. And it's a TV show, basically.
It's what?
It's like a TV show too.
It's like a big budget TV show that you go like every year to see the next entry, the next episode. It's every 3 months because there's so
and
many.
Now they're also TV shows. So
but with the Spider-Man with the Spider-Man movies, the thing that I like, there's always they're made by this one director. There's like this thing that whenever the movie starts, it confirms you that you're back into that universe. Like in the first one, you have the music, the iconic music, and you have the title sequence, and it's always the same thing in every film, and there's like a 3-year gap between each, right? So I remember the feeling, watching Spider-Man 3. And that's like in the phase where I was basically watching Spider-Man 2 almost like every weekend. So like the movie's like I visually I know the movie by heart. I know how it starts and everything.
Yeah.
So when the Sony Pictures logo comes in with the music starting, and I see that the same and the font and it does the same thing. It's like I'm back. It's amazing. It's the same guy who's directing it. It's comforting. It's cozy. It's great. Like sure, you can call it nostalgia, but it amplifies the identity of that trilogy, and you can't get that anymore now.
I think that's almost intentional.
It is.
Like I said, the writing and visually how it reproduces panels, I feel like Raimi is really going for a 60s feel of that world. It almost feels like culturally it is trapped in the 60s where the comics originate. So it has that spirit, that original spirit. And whenever you rewatch it, maybe some elements of the filmmaking will age, but the spirit has always been trapped in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the filmmaking, I don't think it aged at all. I think thing is when your movie is stylized, it's gonna hold up. Because the thing is, especially Spider-Man 2, and honestly, people don't. I mean, Spider-Man 3, it's the most recent out of the three.
Good.
I mean, I have issues with it, and that is a hot take. But thing is, Spider-Man 3, like, it has issues.
For me, before the final fight was really, really, really good. After when Venom becomes Venom, that's when everything.
Venom is the whole issue. Venom, pick out Eddie Brock and Venom, and it's a good film.
When that 70s show popped up, I was like, no, we're not in this.
When you said, "Hey Parker, I lost."
Oh no, this movie, it's a jumbled mess, and apparently, like, Raimi didn't want to do the Venom arc, like,
because to put Venom because he was gonna do like a fourth one with the Vulture. And Mysterio, I think.
Yeah. With what's his name? John Malkovich, I think, was supposed to play him.
Malkovich was Vulture, and Bruce Campbell was gonna be revealed to be Mysterio.
Oh, that makes sense. That would have been nice, but gosh, I just wish I could have like access to like an alternate universe where those movies fucking happen.
Well, speaking of
madness, my friend.
That's what I'm saying. Speaking of, Raimi's the one directing it.
Yeah, which I'm. Gosh, okay, wait. Before we talk about that, I need to keep talking about the Raimi trilogy a little bit because, like, so Spider-Man 3, I think, like, photographically might be one of the prettiest looking films, superhero movies, like, not generally. So when I was saying that, like, the Matrix trilogy and stuff, like, though they kind of built my those are where my visual sensibilities come from when it comes to like what I like visually for like action movies and superhero movies, where the Matrix trilogy and the Sam Raimi, the last two Spider-Man movies, they share the same cinematographer, Bill Pope. And he's amazing when it comes to like shooting action scenes. And he did Scott Pilgrim, he did the latest Alita Battle Angel. So he's great with that. And my hype is that he's actually shooting that Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
And from some shots, it shows. So he's coming back to Marvel, and I hope that they're going to keep this guy because he's great. But the other thing that I like about Spider-Man 3 is that despite the jumbled plot, is that it's clearly about something. Like it's
not a blockbuster. It's not a blockbuster. It's more of it's very much a character. Not for its time. For its time, it was very much its own thing. Just because a lot of people really loved the story of Spider-Man, and they started buying into it, and then so the second and third became massive. But
back then, superheroes were a big risk.
Exactly. It wasn't like a
X-Men were risks. Remember that?
No, that's true.
Fox was ashamed of X-Men. Fox did not want the X-Men to wear color. They wanted them to wear all black leather. Raimi went, no, bright red and blue, bright colors, bright green.
Well, it's funny though because the X-Men, I feel like it's different. It's because not only they were kind of afraid of going for the crazy colors. Like I think that was called like the superhero renaissance, where Batman and Robin happened not too long ago. So they really needed to be the complete opposite of that. So, but not only that, the Matrix, the first one came out like a year ago, and the Matrix kind of redefined the idea of cool. Cool means the black leather, everywhere, and everyone tried to do that. Even Blade, it's kind of has already been that.
Yeah, Blade kind of has that aesthetic anyways. So.
Right, but it utilized, but it kind of took advantage of that. It was like perfect timing for Blade. Yeah. But X-Men did the same thing, and personally, it worked. Like the costumes, they're their own thing. It doesn't feel like classic X-Men, but at the time they really couldn't do anything else.
Also thinking with the X-Men, if having like bunch of like really bright colors would make it so like cartoony and
cartoony's fine.
But I think X-Men Evolution was going out at the same time, no? X-Men Evolution.
Yes.
So at the same why have live action literally of the same thing that's coming out in better format instead of making it like revamping it into a more, I guess, grounded version of it.
Well, basically that means that you just have like two different versions of the same source material happening consequently at the same time. So
Like, I mean, like, Hugh Jackman, I mean, like, Wolverine's small, and he cast a 6'2" buff dude, buff Australian dude. You know what I mean? Like, it's very different.
Right. Yeah, I guess they were prioritizing different traits about the characters, but I mean, people loved Wolverine. That's why
that really well. Yeah. Jackman is a great Wolverine.
Despite his height, like, exactly. I mean, you forget about that,
Because about that, his acting, he can embody that. The savage.
Yeah, I think that's why also that's really torturous is like sort of like he didn't really want to stay at Wolverine forever because it's like such a like heavy character to bear.
Well, I think he wanted that character to have a send-off at least.
Well, yeah,
wanted that.
He suffered enough.
Logan was good.
Logan, for Old Man Logan to be adapted, and I'm glad they adapted what they did and they didn't keep it as is because.
Too bad. It was
that would have been insane.
No, that would have been so crazy, bro. Yo, crazy Hulk eating. Yo.
Incest Hulk and his incest babies eating Logan's family. That's terrible.
That would have been R-rated for sure.
Absolutely. And you know how that story ends? Incest Hulk child eats Wolverine, and then days later, Wolverine bursts out.
Yeah, I feel like, you know what? Maybe within the context, it might be consistent with the rest of the tone, but I feel like 20th Century Fox haven't established that tone. It might have. I don't. No.
I mean, to be fair, 20th Century Fox already got bought by Disney, so they just said, "Yeah, fuck it, we're gonna go out with a bang."
They really did.
Yeah, they did with Dark Pheonix there, but
oh no,
I couldn't even finish that one because it was.
I've never tried to watch that movie.
Hey, yeah, that's just hilarious.
I mean, Dark Pheonix mix X-Men: The Last Stand looked like a masterpiece.
Incredible.
Yo, that sound was crazy good.
No, like it's actually offensive because I mean, obviously, if you're gonna have a second go at like Dark Phoenix saga, that means that you're at least gonna try to make it better.
Yeah.
Right.
But honestly, I mean, I kind of, to be honest, I kind of also grew up on X-Men 3, X-Men: The Last Stand. I kind of had like the best theater experience for it.
Yeah.
Like so again, X-Men, the second X-Men film, I also grew up on it. I also rewatched it like a bunch of times. But I never, that was at the time when I never really knew about like sequels. I never waited for a sequel. It's like I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I remember randomly, it was like 3 days after my birthday because the movie came out on May 26th or something. And I'm just watching TV, and my dad comes in. He's like, "Yo, there's a third X-Men movie in theaters right now," and I'm like, "Excuse me, what?" and he's like, "Yeah, no, for real." And apparently, like on LCN or some shit, they're like playing the trailer, and we're watching the trailer, and he's like, "Yeah, let's go watch it." I'm like, "What the hell?" Okay, all right. And so basically, I have seen no trailers for X-Men 3, so everything's going to. I've never had this before, so I have no idea what to expect. I don't know that Jean's gonna come back. I don't know. So when Jean comes out of that lake, long hair, she looks fucking amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I was like, whoa, this is.
She comes in like a boss, killing everybody and shit.
See, honestly,
how do you feel about Cyclops?
Well, so this movie, so I mean, when I saw it, I kind of loved it because to me that was what it was supposed to be, but also it was kind of like the first movie that made me realize that special effects are made by computers because the whole scene where the house is being destroyed, I was thinking like, how did they do that? That was like the first time where I thought an effect looked like you can't do this practically.
Well, actually, funny enough, with what was it? I think it was Apocalypse. They actually blew up the house and had a rig go through it real quickly.
Oh yeah, the whole Quicksilver sequence.
Yeah, the Quicksilver scene. That was practical. So.
Right, but the thing about X-Men: The Last Stand is like it made things that were like visually, I think it was insane. Like the thing that I really liked about the Pheonix, and not a lot of people talk about this, is that like in the comics, apparently the Pheonix is like an entity from space that came in Jean and stuff, and I thought that's kind of, I mean,
Fantastic Four.
Well, yeah, in a way, like
Black
sure, I
Eve.
get it. It's a comic book and stuff, but at the same time, it feels like kind of a super big coincidence that your space entity that's like super strong and wants to destroy the world just so happens to possess the mutant who has like telekinesis power. So
Oh no,
I think,
it's not a coincidence.
like I bet like what she looked for her or something like she
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Oh,
He was
okay.
looking for a strong telepath.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for that world, for for
Kinda like
that
Carnage.
X-Men story, I think I like the idea that the Phoenix was always inside of her, and that it was like another, and they kind of played around like the split personality thing.
Yeah.
So like Jean, she does like this freaky thing where she's having a conversation with Wolverine, and then suddenly she goes like, "Where am I? What's happening?" It's like, "Oh crap! Oh, this is like she's being suppressed, and she's this is tough to watch." Like at some point, she even says like, "Kill me before I kill someone else." It's terrible, and her performance is actually great.
Yeah, that's a very if we look, I like the idea of tackling almost the Phoenix as a mental disorder.
Yep, they really did that. They literally did that.
That makes the end so weird because it says like, what do you do with people with mental disorders? You put them out of their misery.
No.
Fucking toss them out, bro. You fucking Wolverine claws their ass.
Kind of problematic as fuck. But
no, but I mean that's people
time,
reading into it though. That's people reading into it.
It doesn't like frame Wolverine as being right for doing it, which fair enough. I think Wolverine feels great pain when he does it. And he has PTSD in the movies that follow. Like in the Wolverine, he has a whole like.
I mean, even Logan.
He thinks he's having sex with her, and he's like, "Oh no, PTSD."
Right, but at the same time, it's like at that point, what else are you gonna do? Because
right,
I mean, it's she's not stopping because aside from that, you don't really see. She doesn't seem to have any weaknesses. She just stands there ominously wreaking havoc. And it's like, all right, nothing's gonna really. I mean, aside from Wolverine, you can't talk her. You can't talk her through this. She's just gonna keep. Well, I mean, at the end, you can see that she's starting to slip out. She's like, save me and whatever. But no, people are still getting disintegrated. The island is like no longer an island. It's just her power is just going amok. So what else are you gonna do? The Phoenix can't be stopped. But again, just to talk about like how they represented her. I like how her powers it doesn't look like magic. It still looks like a new like a genetic mutation. Like her eyes don't glow fiery like in the comics. Her
Scarlet Witch style, fucking red eyes everywhere.
I thought her eyes go pitch black, and it kind of makes her eyes look like bird eyes, like full black pupils. It gave her like bird-like traits. I like that. Like her, like all of her veins on her face are starting to be like exposed. It just looked like a genetic mutation that went wrong and was like amplified instead of looking like a casual superpower. And the other thing, like they didn't give her the Firebird that appears behind her when she does her power, but whenever she uses her powers, she's like backlit. So when her hair is flying, there's always like this ring of light around her.
Yeah,
exactly. So I thought, all right, if you're gonna go for like grounded, subtle, but still be flashy and crazy, that's the way to do it. But no one's gonna say that because the rule in the fan community in the fandom is to say that X-Men 3 was pure garbage. Like even if there's something good in it, you can't. Oh, and also this movie has the best X-Men music out of the whole franchise. Like the score is great.
Talking about the because we were talking about before how Raimi's universe basically brought you back into nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing kind of happened for when I went to watch X-Men Days of Future Past and Bryan Singer.
Oh yeah,
and then you hear the theme, the opening. That like legit throws you back to the X-Men 2 vibes where when the first theme first came in, and when you rewatch it, you're like, holy shit, this is the reason why I remember this one so like vividly.
Like, we're back, baby.
Like, and then they did the same thing with Apocalypse, and then he completely just scrapped it with Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, no, I mean it's really with Bryan Singer. Like it's Oh, the other thing I like is when the 20th century logo comes in, like the fanfare, but at the end you can hear a little bit of the score also integrated in it.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of his touch into it. But the funny enough, I think that Bryan Singer just tends to do that a lot because with Superman Returns, he does the same thing with the Warner Brothers logo where there's the original orchestra, but at the end there's the little da 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 added at the end, and I was like, oh, okay.
Well, it's a revamp of the
lot.
original themes. Like it's more of like a modernized version of the score. That's why I really love the idea of fusing basically elements of music with visual elements and sort of making a sort of
Visual
montage.
cues.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of having like a sort of montage, throwbacks.
Creating a connection in your mind between the signifier and the sound. Yeah,
it's kind of the same thing with in Endgame when the Cap gets his shield back and you hear the slight Cap theme and you're like, oh shit, this is remember, it brings you back to the days where like when you first watched the first Avenger and he first gets his serum and he gets the incubator.
Right. That's
music is important. Music is super important, and it's insane. It's insane how not a lot of people think about it. They don't think about it, but they feel it. They're just gonna feel it.
It's like editing. Good editing, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, sometimes you do.
Sometimes you do. That's true.
And it's calling itself on it. Like there's a movie that I watched 2 days ago. Pretty great movie, a horror film, The Empty Man. Like not a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty good. And there's a moment where the guy enters a house, and as he closes the door, it match cuts to a woman closing a drawer, and it was like a really nice match cut. I was like, oh, I saw that. That was pretty neat and efficient.
Movement. You know the same thing happened with in Spider-Man. I still remember when the first Spider-Man when he first web slings. When he's in the roof there, his first web slings, and then he crashes, and then it cuts directly to the move, him walking towards the
that always made me laugh.
That always made me laugh. It's so perfect. It's like there's cues.
Also, that scene is so like the go web.
Yeah, fly. Yeah,
fly.
I mean, there's many like hints.
Got away with it legally.
Yeah. Well, the same thing with Doctor Strange when
J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, and now he's directing Doctor Strange.
It's perfect. It's amazing. But
yeah,
just a subtle joke, like doing that in 2004 is amazing. Like the whole thing of like, what do we call Dr. Octavian, Doctor Strange? It's great, but it's already taken. It's like the fans are like, they know it's great.
That's the thing. On an AMA that Raimi was answering on Reddit. He said that like his favorites were Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. So he's really doing the things that he loves, the Ditko creations, right?
This is sweet. This is super sweet to see. I mean, it's motivating. I mean, the only thing that I hope for is that Disney actually lets him be who he is. Because the thing that my least favorite headline is director steps out of project due to creative differences. I fucking hate that.
Well, I think Marvel often gives a lot of leeway for the directors to make their own.
I don't think they do because that's what happened with Ant-Man
as well. Because I feel like Guardians is very James Gunn.
That's what I'm saying.
But if we look at like Ant-Man, not as much, I think.
Well, with Guardians, I feel like he was allowed to do that because not a lot of people knew about Guardians of the Galaxy. So they let him do his own thing. So, but with what was it? But aside from that, when Disney really begun to have like its own identity, tonally, aesthetically, it's like this. That's where it became a little like, even if you have like a director who's known for something, like their visual personality or the thing that makes them is taken out. Go ahead.
There's one counter example I will provide to that in the later half of these Marvel films would be Taika Waititi. He has been unhampered because if you go from Hunt of the Wilder People to like Jojo Rabbit to Thor Ragnarok, There's no difference. It's him.
True. Although I feel like that he was lucky because it's like he could direct the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie. It's like it's so in line with that where his style perfectly meshed. Well, like he changes a few things in there, like narratively, like you need the the big baddie and the thing at the end, and all the the conventions of the modern superhero film.
Yeah, but
that's all he needed to add. But other than that, like Taika Waititi was like welcome into the MCU, and
well, I mean,
he did his job.
There was a very big transition between like the first two Thor movies, for example, and then the third one, where it's like
very much so,
very, very, very different.
Yes.
And you can't complain about them. You can't complain about that because I mean, the first one, it's a good movie, but it's not a movie that you rush to rewatch. It's not a movie that you really remember for. I mean, there's a few character moments that became memes, like oh, I like this thing. Another slams on the floor. That's great, but like aside from that, you don't have, especially the second Thor movie. It's like people don't talk about it as much. People basically forgot about it. The villain was crazy forgettable. So with the third one,
single most forgettable, I think.
Yeah, like it's not terrible. It has good things in it, but people don't care about it. But so with the third one, like let's just have a good time and do whatever, and have Jeff Goldblum be Jeff Goldblum, but wearing a space robe.
Yeah.
The definition is let's have fun with it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
That's great.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I feel like also the same thing with the Black Panthers. Sort of like let Ryan Coogler sort of be authentic.
That's
with
true.
The way
Black Panther is very much has a lot of
like they literally went to Africa to meet different tribes and actually replicate these tribes.
Not family friendly either. Dealing with like Oakland and
well, I feel like well, I mean, I don't think that's too taboo because I mean, when you think of like the first Iron Man, like the way that they show, the way that they portray.
Afghanistan and all that.
Yeah, that was rough. I mean, I remember the scene where they're about to kill the kid's dad in front of the, like, sure they didn't do it, but it shows you it's intense. You feel it. So the whole thing about like Oakland, I feel like it's not like you got to do that. Like you're talking about, it's Black Panther in 2018. You have to bring up those issues. It would have been wrong not to do so. Yeah, but like by example, that's the
thing though, because Disney doesn't really like. Usually Disney, they stay away from politics. They like dabble in it, but they don't go into it like completely.
Oh, but the backlash that they would have gotten if they win. I mean, especially now, like right now, the big thing is what Falcon.
Falcon Winter Soldiers, exactly. Yeah,
like
exactly.
If they look, listen, Captain America, but now he's black. This brings up a lot. This is like a big conversation that you're initiating. So if you're not saying anything with it, and we're going through this Black Lives Matter thing right now, and it's like, I mean, it's always going to be a big thing. It always has been, but you can't not tackle it. So all the people who talk about like, oh, I don't want my superhero stuff to be politicized. Yo, you're talking about a guy who's wearing the American flag. What is wrong with you?
Issue number 1 of Captain America is him punching Hitler.
Thank you. That's it. It has always been political.
Yeah. Everything that has ever been made by humans is political in a sense because politics is a system of ideas.
I mean, yes, it varies. Like, I mean, you could say that the Guardians of the Galaxy is not that political. I get it. It'd be weird if it were, but Captain America, where you have the story of a black guy black guy who's taking up the mantle, and you have you basically have the alternate scenario from the other generation who basically did it and was thrown in jail and was tested on. There are so many parallels with like reality where you can't ignore it. Ignoring it would be super harmful.
Glad. I'm so glad that Isaiah Bradley is a character in the movies.
Yeah. Seriously.
I never thought that he would show up in a movie.
I never knew about this guy.
That's the thing. He's in one mini-series published by Marvel. And like history, he is forgotten after that. But
look, I have my problems with Disney Marvel. I have some issues, and it's mostly about like, visual ambitions and like certain narratives. Most of my issues are present in like WandaVision. But when it comes to like actually checking up the comic books and seeing and utilizing those elements, like Kevin Feige, he respects, he knows his stuff. I mean, I don't. Gosh, I wonder. I can't imagine how he feels to see his things succeed. It's amazing, and he's
Imagine how
doing it.
Stan Lee felt whatever that shit happened.
Oh, Stan Lee, he must have been like,
Jesus.
all right, you good.
Like when he died, he was like, "Yeah, I'm good." Like Endgame, I've watched Endgame. We're good. We can leave now.
He won. He
Oh
won
my God.
in life. If anyone ever like won in life, it's him. But
oh yeah.
Another interesting thing, when Guardians of the Galaxy first came out in theaters, I went out to see it with my dad, okay? And I was a comic reader at the time. And I was like, who the hell are the Guardians of the Galaxy? I've never heard of these guys. And I read this stuff.
Well, that's why in the first film there was a little skit where they were like, we're the Guardians of the Galaxy. He's like, who?
Yeah.
It's like, literally like the audience.
They were playing on the fact they knew that the Guardians were nobodies.
Self-awareness is great.
That was great. Like, they decided, they were like, okay, we want to do space. We don't have the Fantastic Four. We'll take the Guardians. That'll work. It will make something weird, and we'll just see if it works, you know?
A gang of misfits brought together by James Gunn.
Gosh, you mentioned the Fantastic Four. I have no. I mean, for some reason, the Fantastic Four is the one where I'm excited to see how they do it with the MCU. I don't know. It's something about them. Like, you know, we've seen different versions of the Fantastic Four on film before, and it never really worked. I mean, even the first two, like, there are some things that I kind of weird. It's weird. Like,
it
first of all,
completely clicked. There are some stuff that does work, but for me, it never like fully clicked.
The Silver Surfer looked super cool. Like, I think he looked awesome. I like
Doom in the original one with the like his face just looks like really like.
Well, they did good work with the costumes in that one.
Yeah, no, the costumes were good. I mean, my only, I guess, really nitpicky is that they're supposed to be the stuff that they're wearing under the spacesuit.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always come off as that, but like whatever. They're superhero costumes.
The funny thing is about the Fantastic Four, they have many hints about it in like the current like blockbuster not films, the TV shows like for example for Winter Soldier, they've been hinting at X-Men with Madripoor. They've been hinting at the Power Broker. They have been hinting at granted
they have been kind of hinting, but like
what's the place that Doom occupies?
Latveria? But yeah, I think they mentioned Latvia.
Exactly.
Yeah, Latveria. Yeah.
So there's many hints.
Pretty big like hint. I mean, I have to say that I would love if they went the Ant-Man route, or rather the Hank Pym route with the Fantastic Four, where there are these old people from the 60s. So the film takes place in the 60s to kind of harken back to the fact that the Fantastic Four in the comics
already happened.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a good way to do it. I mean that definitely worked for Ant-Man, and I do like it when they do that because it alludes to history. There's stuff happened, and it like, by example, the first X-Men movie, they did that, and I love it. People were according to what I can recall, people being upset that oh, Magneto, he's like an old dude, like and all that stuff.
That's what you want.
Yeah, Gandalf as Magneto would be grateful.
Right, like what the hell, Ian McKellen? Like Magneto's supposed to be like this buff dude. But the thing I liked, like, there's this scene where you first see Magneto and Xavier interacting for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, they're talking, and you could, and the way that they're exchanging, you could hear that there was history, that they've been through things together. They don't need. They already have like a relationship established. There's already context, and it kind of adds gravitas to their whole thing.
Yeah,
it's interesting to watch.
Yeah.
What I think would be a cool twist for Von Doom was if he was already a Sorcerer Supreme.
I have no idea how to do. I don't know much about Von Doom. I don't really know how they make him work.
If like Von Doom and like the Ancient One were sort of, they knew each other, and sort of like Strange was like a new guy.
So make Von Doom more of a like global Marvel villain, like have him with in every movie, Doom pisses off one of them.
But I mean,
the new Thanos.
I think.
But I don't want everyone to team up on Doom. I just want Doom to be on the side and be like, I can piss off everyone, and I have diplomatic immunity.
But I think what's his name? Black Panther 2. That's when they're gonna introduce him, or probably most likely introduce him.
Because I love. There's a storyline where Wakanda and go to war.
Exactly.
It's very interesting.
So it'd be like literally a political agenda going on there, where it's like Von Doom being a.
Oh, but if it's not about race, it's fine, right?
Right.
I think they're going more the international inclusivity type of storyline, sort of the awareness of the heritage.
Right. Well,
the Western and the Africans.
I love the most about Falcon Winter Soldier is they weren't dancing around the issues. At least they were going to the core of them. They were this shit fucked up. It's been fucked up. It's still fucked up.
There's one moment that kind of made me laugh for how overt it was. I forgot the name of what's his name? The other U.S. agent.
John Walker.
John Walker's, John Walker's friend. I think one of the villain, she said something like, his life didn't matter or something. My friend's life didn't matter. My black friend's life didn't matter. I was like, oh, okay. I kind of laughed inside because I thought, I know that plot-wise and in context, that's not what they were going for, but that was like super overt. I was like, wow, okay, that's really gonna bring people back in reality. But okay, go along with it. You did it.
There's also something cool about the thing that happens with Walker, where he doesn't realize that he's basically pinning his partner as the black best friend trope.
Yeah. He
dies.
dies.
Which honestly, I couldn't see it like this. I just saw it as a really weird mirror of Sam and Bucky. It was just that. So you basically saw the worst case scenario when the other guy, when Lamar dies. I just thought it's a good plot point, and it doesn't. Like I can't call it like the token black friend who dies as the motivation.
It's lampshading that. It's not like doing it and not being self-aware about it. They knew exactly what they were doing by killing him off.
Mm-hmm. It drove him mad.
That trope. They were saying how that trope is problematic and how it's just pinning the lives of black people as being less. It's just perpetuating this idea that's it's not as much of a loss, That's exactly what the villains say.
But even before that, I just saw it as sure, Lamar is just John Walker's friend. That's it.
Right.
But making him black is just, first of all, I think he's black in the comics, but also it just puts emphasis on they are a reflection of Sam and Bucky. That's it, and I really like that. I love it in movies where you have basically when characters there's another character that's a mirror of another character, and it's there's a video essay that talked about Spider-Man 2 and how Dr. Octopus, Alfred Molina, and his wife at the beginning of the movie, they represent the life that Peter Parker would want to have with Mary Jane. That's super sweet. So when he loses his wife, it sucks real bad, and you can see how you get it. You get why
Peter lost his girlfriend, so that shit was the same kind of thing.
Well, in a different way.
They're lost in their work. It was kind of the same thing. They were both lost in their own work.
Well, technically, he doesn't lose her. He never really had her. He never allowed himself to be close to her.
Peter learns from Otto's mistake in a sense of not spending the time with her when he could have.
Yeah. So in the end, he sort of it ends up being you know what? Fuck it, I'll end up with you. And so.
No! Actually, no. He actually said at the end. He literally said he explains to her after she discovers that that Spider-Man is Peter Parker,
Yeah.
he explains this is why we can't be together. People are gonna come after you, and I'm not gonna allow that to happen. At the end, he says no, but she makes the decision to wearing her
wedding dress.
the wedding dress. She goes to his apartment and say, "Look, this is my decision. I want to be with you."
Yeah.
And that's what makes it satisfying. And
Yeah.
the ending shot is like it's my favorite ending shot of any superhero movies, and that would never happen in an MCU film where it's just like her looking at the window, and on the reflection you can see Spider-Man swinging, and her the scene started out happy because they're together now, but on her face you see that implies like a lot of like shit's gonna happen. It's not sequel bait, but at the same time it's like it's really
nothing is ever a fairy tale ending for Peter Parker.
Right.
Ever. And that's what's great. Also, like girl problems, whether it be not just getting the girl, but being happy with the girl when you always have to leave, when you always have to
and we see how that goes in Spider-Man 3. And also when it comes to like superhero movie endings, like even Spider-Man 3, despite its flaws, I really like how subdued the ending is. It doesn't feel like the ending to like a superhero movie. It feels like the ending to a melodrama.
Yeah, well,
like at the end they go through,
it brings in closure. It brings in closure from the original, the first film, where Uncle Ben was kind of the catalyst for the whole journey. And in the end, it's sort of like I forgive
think that was actually kind of a clever the Sandman thing.
Yeah.
With Uncle Ben.
People did not love this. People hated that.
I didn't like it at first. I didn't like it.
I don't know if I do yet. I thought it because when I saw the trailer, I was like I don't know how old was I when I was 10 in 2007. When I saw the trailer, I was like, whoa, that goes deep. Like to me, it just added something new to the story. I was like, this is weird. I had no idea what comic book fans thought about that, but you could see why they did that. It added the theme of forgiveness in the movie. For me, honestly, the scene kind of gets me. I mean, it might have something to do with the setting, the fact that it happens at sunrise. It's that you see the cityscape, and Sandman is like, I don't want you to forgive me. I just want you to understand. And Peter Parker, as he has like a tear running down his face, he goes, I forgive you.
Yeah.
Sandman sheds a tear. He leaves. Fucking beautiful. I love it. Like,
beautiful.
I feel
it's
the
so
scene.
Human. It's so very. And Sandman, the whole time, I will stand by this. Raimi's Sandman is great. He's really great.
He doesn't have a lot of screen time, but it's good. Like it
works. And there's this one scene when he transforms and he looks at the thing,
the locket.
The
locket. So good. It's such
all
a
visual.
Great,
it's all visual. It's
so great. Show don't tell. It's so great animation to be able to show him emoting almost, but not completely. They don't show him cry.
And also the music. The music that elevates it is amazing. I mean, see, the Sam Raimi trilogy, it's like there are things that don't mix. Like, by example, like you're not supposed to think about them because it's not about the thing making sense. It's about telling the story.
Yeah.
Like the thing that in the sand thing, like he turns into sand, and everything is
the sand man.
It's not just that. Like so he becomes sand, but not the locket. Like that, I feel like Cinema Sins would ding it just because the locket didn't turn into sand.
Cinema Sins is not good criticism.
It took me way too long to understand that. Like Cinema Sins, it's not. Like I feel like it's fine if you.
It's not to be taken seriously.
Exactly.
And even they know that. They've admitted many times that this is just us doing a funny thing. And sometimes they ding things for no reason. Like they say, oh, this character is not my girlfriend. Ding.
Yes. I like it. It's great.
And I really think that if you extrapolate I think that's people have a problem with that, with critical thinking often.
They're never gonna have a good time. They're never gonna enjoy a movie that's just a little pulpy. It's like, no, just feel a little bit. Feel what's the point of the story. Forget about like the things that this doesn't. But the movie, like even sometimes the movie doesn't explicitly pay attention to that. So you shouldn't. Like it doesn't spend a whole minute to explain the thing and how it works. So maybe you shouldn't focus on this. By example, like there are movies where, by example, time travel movies where clearly you feel that the time travel, like the movie itself, while the plot is propelled by time travel, it's not about the damn time travel. It's about the characters and what happens to them and what time travel makes them do. Like Looper, or fucking Terminator is the best example. But Tenet, I don't know if you guys have seen this movie.
Yeah, of course. Watch out theaters.
Me too, personally, and I'm a Nolan stan, but this movie pissed me off because the movie told me to care about the time travel. We have like all those scenes where, by the way, I did not understand shit about the movie, and it's not because the sound was weird, but just because what they were saying.
So everyone had a problem with the sound then.
Right, but it's not even just the sound. It's just like janky. It's like, so the movie, like someone could say, oh well, it's not, it doesn't make sense. The time travel doesn't make sense, but you're not supposed to focus on it. Yeah, I'm not supposed to focus on it, but the movie tells me so. And what am I supposed to focus on? There's no characters. The main character is literally called protagonist.
Which is absolutely terrible. In
fucking pretentious.
In another story that could work if it was more abstract, right? But him being the protagonist means nothing. Neil could have been called the protagonist. Because Neil does something at the end, and he's basically the actual hero.
Yeah, he's the actual.
Why is he doing all of this? My biggest problem with the movie
is they didn't answer. They said, "Oh, you're gonna trade me in the future. That's why it's a time loop. It's a time loop. That's why."
I was laughing my ass off when, like, where Robert Pattinson is like giving his final monologue and explaining where it comes from, and the guy Washington, he's like crying and whatever. And I'm like, what are you crying about? You feel nothing. You don't care about this, dude.
Understand the emotion in that film, and I have to say, I have a bit of contempt for people saying that Inception is hard to understand. I find it very easy to understand.
Inception is fine. It's fine. That movie is fine.
But Tenet is convoluted.
It gave me a headache. It gave me a headache, and I did not have a good time. And the thing that pissed me off is like the whole inverted thing. You can do so much dramatic shit with it.
Good sequences in that film.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's Christopher Nolan. He's gonna impress you visually, and he's gonna do some weird shit.
To be fair, the idea of fighting backwards, literally actually fighting backwards, is amazing. Like the whole choreography was backwards.
Do you remember Raphael Demers?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a little we did a Tenet short film back last summer, and we tried that. It's so fucking complicated, right? Nolan must have given his old cast like headaches by just like the idea of choreographing one guy fights in reverse, but you are fighting this guy who's fighting in reverse, but you're in forward. So he's supposed to. It's fucking weird. It's like math at some point.
It's that's why there's an actual choreography where they actually, instead of like pushing onto a wall, they jump at the wall and
they had
whole
to
reverse, and like it's legit
choreograph looking like you're fighting in reverse, but doing it for real. But
even the running was reverse. I find it hilarious.
It's weird. It's so weird. No, I really respect all of that. Like Nolan is a sicko, but but dramatically, I feel like, imagine if, because what's his name, the protagonist, why is he doing all of that stuff? I don't know what he wants in life. I don't know why he's doing all of those things. Like, he wants to save that guy's wife because the guy is being bad to. You don't know her though. I get it.
That's the thing. I feel like he's called the protagonist because he's very bland and has no qualities, and his only thing is he is the protagonist of the film.
Right,
but that's not the good thing to do with. If you want to use an idea of a template, you want to use the
audience self-insert.
Yeah, that's what you should have done. Like, make it about the hero with 1,000 faces. He's everything you've ever seen. He's Luke Skywalker. He's Peter Parker. He's Superman. He's all of those.
Sure, but you know what would have been great, I think? Like, so the idea of inversion, like the crazy things that you can do with this. Like, I don't know, bringing someone back to life. Like, imagine if he lost someone really important, like someone that was really close to, and you actually see the tragedy. Maybe something happened in the opera house, which personally is my favorite set piece. Like, it has my favorite music score and all music. And oh, by the way, the music is the best part of the film, in my opinion.
It is actually very much
and
so.
But in the movie, imagine if like it actually takes half the movie to discover what happens with the inversion, what it is. Imagine if he starts to think about the opportunity of actually bringing that dead person back to life. Like, secretly, that's what he wants to do, and that is all he wants to do. But he's not aware of like the consequences or whatever, and he's trying to like do what his boss is telling him to do, but with that ulterior motive to, bring his friend, wife, well, maybe not a wife, because Christopher Nolan tends to always do that, have a dead wife all the time. So maybe not this time, but like,
I mean, even Batman had a dead wife.
And all the time, man. It's weird when you think about it. I'd be like, Christopher Nolan, he writes his movies with his wife. I'd be scared if I were.
So,
I'm terrified to be his wife.
Subliminal messaging, like, hey, yo, see, imagine you were dead, right?
Well, I had a dream in my dream where you were finally dead again.
I tried to save you, but then you were at the wrong place. So I saved the wrong guy.
Maybe that's like a subconscious, like a crazy fear, like that's him like externalizing his fear about like losing his wife, and that's like super sweet, and she finds that like super charming. So maybe that's okay.
Psychoanalyzing himself, it's just like,
and being really clear about it. So, no, but Nolan, I feel like I like the guy, and someone I don't like it when people can compare him, like describe him as like a more intellectual Michael Bay, because I think like that's kind of, they're not on the same thing.
No, they're not on the same level at all. It's very different. Michael Bay just loves explosions.
And honestly, Michael Bay movies, they look super good, but they go for a very different vibe where they can't. The thing that they have in common is spectacle. Grand scale spectacle.
For me, Michael Bay is ADHD visually. It's live, like it's legit. Like cameras moving all over the fucking place.
I think
you're always running.
Michael Bay is. Oh no, it's not Michael Bay. I was thinking about J.J. Abrams. Someone described J.J. Abrams as you have Michael Bay and you have Steven Spielberg. J.J. Abrams is right in the middle, like perfectly in the middle.
To me, Michael Bay is half a filmmaker, half an advertiser.
Well, he was great at that.
He was great at that, yeah. But that's what I mean, is his films really are Americana. They're really like patriotism, let's go, get money from the army, haha,
He knows how to make something look really good. Like, those shots of cars, like all those, the Transformers riding in the desert, going to the next location. Those are Chevy ads. Those are all Chevy ads.
Propaganda, he knows it, he loves it. Yeah. It's his thing.
And that's not my problem with his movies. My problem with his movies is that tonally,
it's his thing. It's his style.
Right. Like, my problem with his Transformer movies is that like tonally, like, no, I'm here to watch like robot action. I'm not here to hear parental jokes about like Sam masturbating in his bedroom. Like, that's not what I was here for. Like, the humor that he's trying to
see Bumblebee pee on an FBI agent.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like, I wish that the Transformer movies had like Marvel humor. I wish they had that type of writing where they would mesh well together, because the things that I like about Transformers, those movies, are obviously the special effects, the action, the music is excellent, the look of Cybertron, the look of the robots, because they don't just look like mechas, they actually look like aliens from another world. I really like that. I like how the sound design is fucking excellent. Like, the first time that you see Blackout, and when he, like, the first transformation,
the transformation, the original,
the EMP shockwave.
Yeah,
it's amazing. And when he the sound that he makes when he ejects Scorponok out of his back.
Yeah.
The way that I would describe the sound is, when you're a kid and you're playing with your robot action figures and you're making sound with your mouth and stuff, but the sounds that you're making they sound super intense in your head. It sounds completely different. You in your head, it's like you imagine those noises, and they sound super cool and threatening and immense. The sound design in the Transformer movies sound like what I would imagine when I would make those sounds. It's like it's insane.
It's 2 hours and a half of Michael Bay playing with his toys, and that's pretty great because that's kind of what you want, right?
Yeah.
Right, but at the same time, he really wants to add in his sex jokes, which don't really merge well with that. And I'm
yeah, no, his blatant sexism, low-key racism, low-key problematic aspects always come out.
It's bad. It's like I would say harmful because a lot of people watch those movies.
Yeah, but like, when you watch those movies, you don't really pay attention to what goes on. You're really very much into the spectacle, as you said.
Actually, I wasn't because I was a kid and I didn't really get.
Well, exactly.
At the same time, you can't not pay attention to it because that's what's going on for like large portions of the film in between the action scenes. Like in the second one where Sam goes to college and his mom gets high on like pop brownies. I remember back in 2009, fucking cringing next to my parents. I was like, "What the hell is going on?" Like, it was weird. I'm like, "This. You don't put that in a Transformer movie." Like I like the idea of, I like the fact that you follow in the three Transformers, the first three, you follow Sam like from high school, college, university, and after that like looking for a job. I like the progression, but I like that. It makes sense. Like you can like as an average dude like studying and whatever, you can identify yourself with it. It's just. The movie is like thematically fucking problematic. Like everyone's yelling at each other. There's never like a non-toxic relationship. You never have like two people actually liking each other. Everyone's yelling at each other, especially when they're men. Yeah. I noticed for some reason it's weird. But aside from that, like I mean, I still kind of grew up on like the first Transformer film. Like I rewatched it so many times. Visually, it's amazing. The shot where Bone Crusher tackles the bus and it kind of breaks in half, and it looks practical because it actually was. And after that, you got like him tackling Optimus in slow motion. Like it looks, honestly, that looks better than every Marvel movie. Yeah. To me, like in terms of cinematography, photographically, it looks more visually impressive. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, I guess we could end it there. What do you think?
Sure.
We ended there so we can let the audience decide whether or not it's visually better than all the Marvel movies. Bold claim, but sure.
That may be a hot take, but I said what I said, so I meant it.
But yeah, so let us know what you guys think. It's been Daryl.
Damn, I really dropped the bomb before leaving.
And so see you guys in the next episode of Speakeasy Podcast.
All right.
Yeah.
Peace.